Well, I did an earlier one off of how everything revolves around the presidential situation. And this shows that we will soon, one day, since it's under executive authority, and everything has to be done basically off of the signature of the president. You know, if you have the signature of the president, you can do anything out there that is on the written note, the writ. Basically, like the governor has a writ, and you can carry around the writ, and you just get whatever it is because you're special and you can supersede anything else out there. Well, since everything is under executive authority underneath the Nazi situation out there under it, saying that it's a dictatorial government now, and they go, well, it's a constitutional democracy because we get privileges given by the Constitution wielder. Well, in saying this, um, basically, unless the president has came to you, and even if he says something verbally to you, it doesn't really even matter. It's like it's policy that will do that, but it really has nothing else out there. So if you're in his presence, you can do that, but you weren't able to keep up spending your money staying on his entourage or anything else. So, in this legal conundrum of insanity that they say can exist because we're a nation of laws, well, laws come from the legislative group, and the legislation is guaranteed underneath the presidency, and it's like, well, I just don't think like having it right now. It'll come back eventually, or else with people that I want to have there, or something else like that, or else they can be disbanded because they're not really needed, and everything needs to be under executive. And he's not written and this goes for both parties, or any party, or non-party, anything else. Crazy party, like, you all are. With, like, people that go, Mom, are we really Nazis? I told you we were. I thought you said we were just being bad kids. Seriously, it's like, you know, it's the stupidest thing in the world. I mean, you know, but, anyway, unless the president comes to you, gives you the amendments that's supposed to be on there, just like how he doesn't have to take your resignation, it's a form of slavery. And anybody who's higher than you that you've agreed to work for under can do that. You can't leave the company or anything else, or do whatever it is with the company and have to live by separate rules and privileges. As it is with Walmart and everything else, and all this, and how they have their own culture and everything, and say that, Sam Walton was the greatest one of them because certain ways that they do with the training, and I go, it just has to be local. Anyway, with it all, if I was the president, I have to write the First Amendment, which parts of the First Amendment are there, and then sign it with my signature. Or else give you an entire thing of the Constitution, just be like, line, line, line. See, it's like line item veto, but it's not really. Then I sign it at the bottom with my name. But welcome to ultimate power. It exists within their grasp, and they don't have to listen to any pelicans out there. Unless you like the pelicans, and remember, you always feed them fish without hooks in it. Make some fat jokes about my neck or something. It's not me. I know you're just not with it. Yeah, she really doesn't have any power or authority. Except to play house. So it's like, don't even think about stacking the court. They could just abolish it and dismiss everybody. And anyway, moving right along with this, since it's a presidential lineage thing, and only the lineages of the presidents are the only ones that have the stuff completely, they could do like they do with the whatever it is whenever they say you're crazy and stuff, and be like, we send ourselves to the mental ward to relax and take the pills that we want so that we can advance ourselves. And again, this is Blondie. I mean, he really does think that he's the pretty one from, that Clint Eastwood movie and stuff. But I just have to constantly look at it and just go, with everything that's being said here for all of it, I just don't understand how to even really say it. I mean, it's so hilariously, and I mean, it's so funny. It is true because you just don't want to do something. Probably said I'm a schoolgirl, prison bitch, or whatever it is. But just being honest with you, um, the real Secret Service will only be the presidential descendants because they are like being assaulting one of them is the same as assaulting the president nowadays, as well as the governors and everything else. They'll all have to be descended from the commanders in chief, and then they can actually not be dismissed and have a working government. And it's like trickle down genetics. So everybody's going to be cloned and spliced, which I say is against the freedom of the press and being able to choose your wife and husband and all of that and things like that, because everybody's just like, oh, news media only, when it's like it has to do with manufacturing also and biological choice of free will and everything else. And it's like assembly, and it's like, oh, that's public knowledge stuff that you publicize and stuff. No, it's like choosing your sex partners or something else. And then you're like, well, assembly, freedom of assembly is, well, oh, look, there's two. And it's like, then you have to say vows before people and stuff. So it's freedom of speech because you can do that and someone's not like controlling you with the whatever it is. And I say under this, and up in New England, it's like the royal authority has came and has invaded my brain. I am controlled Terminator. Stop me. No hurt. Can't stop. Must hurt. John Connor. Anyway, all the Secret Service will have to be from that because they're the only ones that can go out there and actually tell the president, no, this is not good for you, or something else like that. And they'll be able to wield all the things of the presidential situation, including the Second Amendment, because no one can wield the Second Amendment and everything else and all the other stuff. And it's like anything basically past the Third Amendment and the Nazi version of it, it's like, it doesn't even really matter. I mean, it's really just nullified, and it's like it's going to be used to hurt you and help me. Haha. Anyway, moving right along. After the Secret Service, all have to be presidential descendants, and they figure out how to splice their genes with everybody, saying this is the best parts of the personalities. And I'm just going, everyone from Harry Truman forward. A Missouri Mule, Secret Service. A Lyndon B. Johnson, Secret Service with the prune juice in this one movie. A version of Kennedy and the first Bush will just argue with each other over space and twinkling lights and stuff. That'll just be wonderful seeing them together and everything else. And I know it's like it's too comical, but we try to make light of a super serious situation in our brain. And moving along to a form of this and the religious situation, off of for a First Amendment thing. The real crusaders will be the presidents, and then everything will just descend from them out there whenever they decide to finally, if we go through all of our secondary tribal groups and everything else and everything, they'll move over to the presidents being the true crusaders. And they will just take everything out there and run it kind of like how, a military authoritative situation is. And they'll probably infiltrate through some form of freedom of religion to get over. I mean, that's been the war game scenario for public problems with, like, the infiltrator that never shoots a shot in there is planning to blow up an aircraft carrier or whatever it is. That's been the one thing that, rolls out with every Oak Ridge kid and everything else. Oops, mentioned a mentionable name. And everything, and how they will have the real crusaders take over the presidency. And that will be whenever they issue the Roman Crusader remade from the Axis powers underneath the office of the papacy. It's kind of like if the Secretary of State took over in the presidency, or, the number 4, sole survivor situation. Hope it never happens. But then they reorganized the military under how they would organize it and say, do we have my favorite general that I know how to talk to and things like me? And they just reorganize everything and then say that they're crusaders. And then the USA crusaders that they've called up, since they're called up under a Jesuit, they all have to be castrated and have no penis. So all of our, World War II generation, or whichever generation you're going to say is the greatest generation, if they go out there, their descendants and everything else, and be like, I'm a crusader and I want to be part of the, have this title from Rome because, we're working together and you were against Mussolini also. And it's like, yes. And even if it's changed underneath that, the American Crusader, anyone that take that, a great part of America has to be removed genetically, like the Nazis were doing, the Axis powers. They're removing people that were the best of the gene pool, run them around naked. They could survive on those least bit of rations. They could have big genitals, starving to death. They were 80 years old and could still, make kids. Believe it or not, they really could. All the way down to the ones that supposedly had holy, heavenly powers in Italy and everything else. The important people. The ones they called the holies, the demonic, the ones that were in the insanity realm, that made them believe in insanity. Because logic ruled, just as Pontius Pilate said to Jesus. And it's like the reason why he found no fault with him. This will kick you. And I know the people who have the college papers for it and probably where to go in the Vatican and ask over it. He found no fault in him because he was a Roman, not one of the colonized people groups. I even know the family around here that says they descend from Jesus, everything else, and you can be like calling your most screwed up priory of Zion I've ever met. And it's like they'll just say, I'll deny it on camera or any public record. Like they've not been talking about it underneath federal and city stuff. And some of them work at Oak Ridge or have a family member that works in the Oak Ridge thing. So it's in there for 50 years. Anyway, interesting little foods for thought. Like and subscribe. Welcome to Certain Things with Conspiracies and stuff.